Okay, we're going to talk about the Unabomber today and his impact on the modern world, many of the things that he said, and also what it is that made him such a fucked up person. Not as in what it is in his life that pushed him to that point, but the decisions that he made that everybody points at him and goes, hey, that's the bad guy. And guess what? I do agree with you. But another thing to pay attention to is that much of the things that were said by Ted Kaczynski, you guys are saying today. You guys are saying the same exact things that Ted Kaczynski said. And the odd thing about that is that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also said some very similar things. So did John F. Kennedy. What made the Unabomber unique among all of these people is that the Unabomber was a highly intelligent human being who was not schizophrenic, who was aware of his surroundings, who did see what was going on around him, and who said something about it. He really did. We're talking about a man who is, well, let's look up the history for Ted Kaczynski. I mean, Ted Kaczynski, his credentials, they show somebody that you would want to hire. They show somebody with a high level of education. They show somebody who has a great level of both political understanding as well as personal reservation. A lot of y'all are in either self-imposed isolation or government-imposed isolation. You guys are starting to understand what long-term seclusion does to your mental state. Those of you who are stuck with your families, well, you're starting to realize what it's like being stuck with somebody long-term. Stuck with them. Kind of like when you're locked up. Oh, I wrote his name wrong. It's Kaczynski. Does that really matter? Not much. A lot of people, when they wrote about me, they didn't get my first name right or my last name right. All right. Theodore John Kaczynski, also known as the Unabomber, is an American domestic terrorist, anarchist, and former mathematics professor. He wasn't an anarchist. He wasn't. Not even close. I know that we have different definitions for our words here. We have the dictionary definition. We have the legal definition. And then we have the Hollywood definition. That makes it difficult for communication to begin with, especially when you start getting into complications like being in the legal system and having to deal with their interpretations and how grossly misinterpreted most of these people want to take things. It's because they choose to take things that way. They go out of their way to take it that way. A lot of the people that I was telling you about yesterday when I was playing, I don't know how many friggin' news clips I played, but there's a lot more. There's also the fact that the guy killed people. He killed people. That's where we got an issue. There's a lot of YouTube videos about booby traps, and a lot of them are really informative. They'll tell you how to spot booby traps, how to find them, how to make them, how to get rid of them, who to call. I mean, all sorts of stuff. Right now, though, we're hitting a point with the police where people are too afraid to call the police. And it's not because they're afraid of their predators, it's because they're afraid of the police more than their predators. That's fucked up. It's also not unfounded. Now, a lot of the police, they're saying, hey, you guys, the media, are making us look bad. No, you guys are making you look bad. Every time that you cover up for a bad fucking cop, you're making you look bad. Every time you threaten, harass, intimidate, and arrest someone who is trying to turn in an officer for trying to turn in an officer, you're making you look bad. Now, granted, when it's a homeless person and they come in, you know that nobody gives a shit. So it's fine to do it to them. We get that. Everybody in America gets that. Even those who want to argue the point get that. There's a lot of people who want to say, I'm not racist, that are racist. They tell me how they're not racist, and then they're posting up a bunch of anti-white stuff. Like, hold on a second. I'm not going through the same shit you are. I'm going through worse. Most of y'all are never going to understand that. Most of y'all are never going to bother to look it up. Most of you are just going to believe what you're told. I mean, let's take a look at BLM, for example. BLM does not represent the true nature of the situation. And let's look at how both sides are reacting to this. We're having white people shooting black people and black people shooting white people over, hey, what? Police brutality. You're shooting the wrong people. I'm against the fact that you're shooting anybody at all. If they show up and start shooting at you, that's a different story. You're defending your life. But when you're out gunning for somebody, that is completely different. That is just gross. Now, there's a lot of folks trying to get rid of guns, get rid of them altogether, and make it so that the police have all the control. You see what they're doing to unarmed populations? Who are the most likely to be victimized here in America? The disabled and the homeless, as far as the police are concerned, anyway. There are 5 hate crimes against the homeless for every 1 hate crime against all other groups combined. But you don't want to hear that. You want your scapegoat. You want your scapegoat. You want to know that you can go to sleep at night because there are no weirdos. Meanwhile, the people who you were calling weirdos are saving people's lives while you're making excuses at the bottom of the bottle. Ted Kazinski said a lot of really important things. He said a lot of things that people are like, this is one of the first fucking nut jobs that's ever made sense. But then you have to take into account the fact that he killed people. He's a fucking nut job. That dude is a fucking nut job. He killed people. The first time that he killed someone, I can understand if he had been hit in the head a whole bunch after being a college professor, if you'd have been hit in the head a whole bunch, didn't really know what the fuck was going on, and just did it out of habit, but in order to do it out of habit, he would have been having to do it prior to getting hit in the head. So that's not an understandable scenario. A lot of people have presented stuff like, he was pushed to it, he was forced to it, and so on and so forth. I want you to look at who he targeted. I want you to take a look at these, what should we call them? Racial zealots of all colors. Who are they targeting? Are they targeting the civilian population? Or are they targeting their predators in specific? Let's say the unibomber here, let's say that you are the family of one of the people that he killed. Now, say that you are temporarily insane and you want to go kill somebody for it. You want to go kill Ted Kaczynski, but you can't. He's dead. I do believe. Is that not correct? Did Ted Kaczynski die? Education, University of Michigan, 1962-67. Harvard University, 1958-62. Wow, Harvard man. I believe he might have also gone to Stanford. I am not for certain about that. He's 5'9". He's got pretty wild hair, kind of like me, but he's got some on top. He's got a beard, kind of like me, but it's well kept. Looks like in his prison pictures, he's completely different looking. He's entirely well kept. Looks like a completely different person. There's people who said, Sean, you said some of the same things as the Unabomber. Don't I know it? I had a lot of psychos doing a lot of psycho shit to me, sending me a lot of psycho messages, doing a lot of psycho shit. The kind of shit that Ted Kaczynski, in his words, but not just him, many other people, both good and bad according to history, have said many of those things. Now, why did I say them? Why would I, somebody who doesn't agree with any of it, say those things? Because I am targeting specific people. When I get on here on Facebook, and this is something that I don't do anymore as far as women go, or as far as black people go, by the way. I did it just long enough to prove a point. I see all this stuff where women are bashing on men. Men, 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 men. It's all men's fault. Some of these women, I know they're predators personally. I know his name. When she said she had an ex-boyfriend who did this, 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 and this, I know the ex-boyfriend personally. And she's blaming men. And she's probably going to go back to him in 2 weeks. Or she's already back with him, but she's still fucking pissed off about it. She still wants to vent about it. She can't say nothing about her boyfriend in specific because she doesn't want to be alone. That was the issue the first time you fucking rescued her. She got out of there. She's not getting hit anymore, but now she's incredibly lonely. And she's like, he only hit me once in 3 months of dating, so it's not that bad of a thing. And she starts talking herself into going back. God, this is screwed up. And with Ted Kaczynski, like, all right, when I was talking to Candace Bonderon's mom outside of Pumpkin Pantry, she wanted to do that whole Ted Kaczynski thing. Hey, when people are brutalized by the police and the system is used to try to frame an innocent person, with each and every person within that system not caring, not caring at all about this person's innocence. Pamela Cardi told me, you know what, Sean, I know that you're innocent. I know that you're innocent, but the jury's not going to see it that way, and the judge isn't going to allow that evidence. I'm like, Pamela, I'm willing to take that fucking chance. Because of what Brian Valenzuela did with that evidence, and because of the bullshit that was pulled by the FBI, Brian Valenzuela, um, who was the other one? God, there were like 8 different law enforcement agents in there. Some of them were from the Secret Service. I mean, it was, and Amanda Jonas, of course. Now, my conversations with Miss Peaches, that's Kayla Trujillo, um, you can hear where we're talking about that situation, where she was going to go in with me. Kept on promising that she was going to go in with me. Over and over, she was going to go in with me. So that the cops wouldn't be able to do shit like that. I was supposed to be going there to get my car back. See, this is the thing about their body cameras. You can see how many times they lied. How are you going to get my trust when you keep lying to me? And then when you can destroy the evidence or pretend the evidence doesn't exist or just simply turn off your body camera, you're making it your word versus mine, and I'm called mentally ill. And every single human being in this country knows that. If you have any cognitive reasoning abilities whatsoever, you know this. You can make whatever excuse you can to try to alleviate the way that you feel about looking away, or the fact that you hate these people so much because you've been taught to hate them so much. Ted Kaczynski did something very similar to what I want to do. The difference is I don't want to make bombs. I want to crawl off in the woods with a dog and be left the fuck alone. Actually, I want 3 dogs. I want 2 St. Bernards and a Yorkie for my feet. That's my ideal bed. Now, my fantasy is to have enough land to rescue people, to help people like myself. We know better what we need than you do. Stop shoving your pills on us. Pills don't stop the abuse. Pills don't stop the fact that we have no rights, that we have no representation. I mean, we hear about all of these great and wonderful and majestic and these programs specifically for people just like me. They advertise how they're there for people just like me. But then again, when they're spending the money that you're donating to them for them to help someone like me, when they're spending that money on advertising and a CEO, they're not going to be able to help me. What they're going to tell me is, all right, well, we need to refer you to somebody else. Why do they need to refer me to somebody else? This is their job. This is what they're supposed to be getting paid. Oh, yes, that's right. That's right. See, a volunteer group, they can pick and choose who it is that they help. And I am okay with that. If I had 5 acres of property to build a Roman marching fort on and grow food on the walls, I certainly would. I would put fruit trees on top of the walls on the outside wall because it's an angle going into a ditch. I'd grow blackberries and things like that, stuff that is defensive as well as food. On the inside, that would be where people would live. We could work together as a community. There are a lot of people who I know that do work extremely well together. It would be great in that kind of a situation. Now, when I was a kid, it was a complete and total fantasy. That's what it was. It was my escape from the places that I was at. And a lot of times I talk about my abuse, my abuse, my abuse, my abuse, my abuse. I want you to think about the fact that some of these foster homes that I was in had 3 or 4 foster kids there. If I'm being abused because I'm in a bad foster home, chances are pretty good those other kids are being abused, and I saw it too. There's also the chance that it might be a good family that you're with, and you ask them to let you stay there. Caseworker comes to get you every 2 weeks. Sometimes they send the police, somebody else it's from their office, but every 2 weeks, new foster home, new foster home, new foster home. And it wasn't just me, it's the same for a lot of these kids. When they run out of places to put us in the temporary foster care system, they lock us up in a place like Fort Logan, or Centennial Peaks, or Mount St. Vincent. Group homes, foster homes, and the like. They also have, and you guys might not believe this, but you're going to want to look it up. Both Colorado and Nebraska have underground facilities for youth, basically like a supermax prison for kids. But you look at a lot of these prisons for adults; they're above ground. Why would they want to put prisons for kids underground? I can't remember if it's Kearney or if it's the Gearing Detention Center here, but yeah, truly underground. Isn't that creepy? All right, I don't remember what I was going to look up. How stupid is that? Now, the point here isn't entirely about the uniform. The point here is that I hear people you call normal, everyday people, talking about doing the same exact things as Ted Kaczynski, or talking about doing similar things. If you kill somebody, it doesn't matter if you did it with a gun, a knife, a bomb, your bare hands. It doesn't matter. You killed somebody. And through all of this, I have gotten to hear all of these people who have guns, talking about how their solution would be to kill someone. And then I know a whole bunch of people who don't own guns. And guess what? That's their solution too. I'm like, hold on a second. You don't own a gun. How would you actually even do these things that you are saying that you would do? How is that a possibility? Why is it that you have this fantasy in your head and it is so far from reality at your age? When I was a kid, it was just a fantasy to escape the shitty places that I was in. And whenever I imagined having it was Never Land for me. I was infatuated with Peter Pan when I was a kid. I still love Peter Pan. I love what he did. He saved us. He saved us. Unfortunately, it's just a fantasy. Peter Pan is no more going to show up at my court dates than Jesus is. Neither one of them is going to get on the stand and testify on my behalf. Neither one of them is going to get on the stand and testify on your behalf. But the great thing about me is that I learn quickly. When I am interested in something, I learn. I didn't have the money for college when I got out of high school. And although the former Ward program was supposed to help me so that I could get a college education, like I said, with these services, somebody has to go in with you in person or they deny you, especially if you're a male. I know a lot of women who are like, Sean, it wasn't that way for me. And I'm like, yeah, I know it wasn't that way for a lot of women. There's a lot of services for you. But I also know a lot of women, despite that, there are a lot of women who get, well, they fall through the cracks just like I do, even with the extra sympathy that they tend to get. And they don't always get it. That's something that a lot of people don't understand either. It's not just men and women, men or just women who are making these bad assumptions. And when we're throwing it at an entire group instead of our specific predator, we are doing wrong. We are doing ourselves an injustice, and we are doing that entire group of people an injustice by holding them accountable for something that was not their fault. There were posts where I would wake up in the morning and I would literally see 10 or more posts that were anti white. Do you know what I want to do every time I see that? I want to backspace over the word white and I want to interchange it with any other group. It depends on who's posting that the most. If it's a bunch of black folks, backspace, 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 BLACK. If it's Christians who are doing that, what do? I type in Christian. Yes, if you're going to fucking hate on a group, I'm going to do the exact same thing back to you just to show you what it feels like. Your exact words minus one. But then we look at the fact that if it targets white people, it's not even considered racist by the Facebook algorithms. The difference between it being racist and not being racist is which racial group that you target. Huh, that's nuts. A lot of these things that I see women doing and posting up, they're they're entirely hateful towards male gender entirely. Did you like how I got the redundancy in there? Do you like how I try to push that now? The Department of Redundancy Department, courtesy of the United States government. Let's make everything so fucked up and clogged up with red tape that the police can literally get away with doing whatever they want. Is that really the America that we're after? Is that really what we want for our children? I can do things parents can't. They have to be afraid of losing their kids if they break the law. The unfortunate fact of the matter is, just because you're a law abiding citizen does not mean that you won't be targeted by the police. It doesn't mean that you won't be targeted by your neighbor. But who is it that's most likely to target you? In that case, it's your neighbor. You're more likely to have issues with your neighbor than you are to have issues with the cops in your life. And that's even given the fact that a lot of us, over half the population, has had issues with the cops. A lot of them, they're like, I never got into trouble with the cops my whole life, but I've seen them railroad people that didn't have it coming. And you're not still speaking out for that person? There's some folks that are like, yeah, dude, fucking, I got a friend in prison right now, and he's in prison because he got railroaded. And I'm like, and he got railroaded? Yeah. Well, did you speak up? Yeah. Did they do anything? No. Why aren't you still speaking up? That's the question I should have been asking. Why aren't you still speaking up? Ted Kazinski got tired of fucking talking and started doing something different. I've done something different too. But my something different isn't killing people. My predators, they're doing something different. There's something different is killing people. And while I try to follow the law, despite the fact that the law makes me a victim, although I try to follow it, my predators don't. They won't. They're not going to. Odin typed at Sean David, are the drone following you around too? No, they're not. Not yet, but I'm working on it. See, well, you guys are pretty heavily focused. The majority of the people that I stayed with, especially, are heavily focused on a lot of screwy shit, heavily focused on you'd shoot this person and you'd shoot that person and so on and so forth. And that's your solution for this shit. That's not my solution. This Odin dude, he's typing, oh, they're following some people around. Honestly, I actually knew that. I already knew that we have drones that are run by the police in many jurisdictions. They advertise it, they talk about it often. We have the same exact thing for the military. Yes, there are actual drones following people around. I am not a fucking priority target. I'm just not. It turns out, even though all these police and the FBI and all them know that this is a bunch of bullshit, the fact is that it's not a bunch of bullshit. They are the bullshit. These crimes should have been investigated. Now, there's a lot of people, their excuse is that you're gonna be, you're gonna be, you're gonna be. You know, people have been treating me like I'm gonna be the next Eric Harris or Dylan Klebold, like I'm gonna be the next unibomber, like I am gonna be the next school shooter since I was in fucking high school. Kids are fucking mean. In an area like this, people just don't get out of that. They never do. They never grow out of that. Odin type Sean David, there's some nano drone that you breathe in. That's fucking screwy. There might be, I don't fucking know. Technology is way the hell up there. I do know that there are drones, and drones can be used to follow people. I also know that drones can be used to survey land. They can be used to look over dangerous obstacles. I know that drones can be used to save lives. So this Odin person over here typing in the live chat, this right here, this is a drone. If I wanted this drone to follow me around, it has a special feature. Now I don't know how to use this. I got a friend who was supposed to teach me, but it's got a return to me button, one key return. It's also got follow me mode. So if I wanted a drone to follow me around, I have a drone to follow me around. Masshole report typed, hi. I've had drones following me around for 4 years now. I'd like to tell you about it, but I'm afraid this live is being bugged right now. Can you help? Uh, Dude, I'm gonna tell you straight up. I probably can't help you. I am not some sort of fucking alien conspiracist. I'm not some Illuminati friggin' nut job. I'm no, it's not a fucking secure channel for communication. This is what's called trolling. These guys want to get on here and start pretending all of this fucking you're schizo bullshit, you know. dude, no, I don't fucking think that aliens are following me. I don't think that fucking drones are following me. We do have the technology, though, obviously. I just showed you a device that, this stuff that they're trying to troll me with to pretend like I'm schizophrenic. No, I actually have one of those devices. This is technology we do legit have. But yeah, there's no, dude, it's YouTube. Of course, it's not fucking secure. Uh, all right, asshole. If you got drones following you, I recommend getting a paintball gun. That's my recommendation. If you're being followed by a drone, get a paintball gun. You won't go to prison for having a paintball gun. Masshole types right now, I use a pellet gun. All right, so there's the Martindales. You remember I was telling you about them? The first time I ever saw one of these flying drones, it was 4th of July of 2016, I think. And one of their friends had this drone that would fly way up in the air and take pictures of the fireworks. It was pretty cool. Um, I don't think there's much point beyond that. It was just cool. But there's a few other people in town that when they got drones, and they're not all ones that look like that. I mean those little flying helicopters, those are actually drones too. They have return to me features and stuff like that. I mean I've been looking at all the stuff they're able to do. They're able to do a lot of stuff. I don't know how to make them do that, but there is a lot of features that they have. A lot of like the little shark helicopters. They have the same features as this thing right here, including the little camera. They're huge and they're expensive, but one thing that's always been important to me is saving lives. Finding people is pretty important too. If you got a limited amount of time, having 5 or 6 people that got drones is something that you can go out and you can search the area pretty fucking quick. You can cover a lot of ground. You can't see necessarily inside of the buildings, but if they're on foot, you can help find them that way. I mean, you can reduce how many people are killed by basically viewing them from a distance. Now, I'm going to be doing that exact thing with this. I will be viewing from a distance. There's also, if you need to check something out, you can bring it down lower to the ground. This thing has a maximum range of 2,000 feet. That's quite a ways. Um, Now, there's people here in town who own drones, and I see them from time to time. Usually, they go out to the lake and play with them, or they go out north of town, or they go to the sand pits. But they're just playing with their drones, dude. That's all they're doing. It's not like they're picking you in specific. They're just playing with their toy. In some cases, like this one right here, the guy who sold it to me, he told me, "Hey, this is the one that we use at football practice." Well, if you guys use it at football practice and it's got pretty high definition on it, it's able to go all of that distance. It's able to record for that long. It's able to stay in flight for that long. I mean, yeah, it's something I want. It's something that'll save lives. When I bought that truck, the dump truck, the first thing that I looked at, I had to look at my situation now versus how it was when I first wanted that truck. When I first wanted that truck, I had a good back. I was also working for a guy who was junk and metal, who had a bad habit of not paying attention to what he was doing, and he didn't know crap about antiques. You got no idea how sad I was the day that I saw him back over a Harley Davidson oil can with a skid loader. I found out later how much that thing was worth, and it about floored me. I just wanted it because it said Harley Davidson, and we were supposed to clean the place out. They wanted everything gone. They wanted the barns, everything in them gone. Leave the buildings, but everything in them needs to come out. If it's hay, if it's rat turds, if it's metal, it don't matter. They want it out. But then I think about if there's somebody in town who, let's say the person who's flying this thing is half a block away and they're flying it from their backyard, when they fly it around, they can see their drone, you can see their drone. I mean, it's up in the air, you can see this thing. But then you can't see them because your garage is in the way, or the carport's in the way, or the house is in the way, or you're on the back side in the backyard, and they're on the front side in the front yard. You might get a little bit paranoid about just the fact that there's a drone there. It must be for spying on me. It might be just somebody got a cool toy that they want to check out. Also, I know the fire departments in a lot of places are using them now. Um, some of them are equipped with infrared cameras now, and they can go check for hot spots. You remember I was telling you about the AH-1G Cobra? This is a big military helicopter that eats a crap ton of fuel, and it's not exactly designed for this purpose to go up and search for hot spots in the mountains. I mean, for the cost of one of these, you're talking about the cost of this is about 5-10 minutes worth of fuel for a Cobra at most. And then you're talking about going in and fighting fires with that. You got a human being inside of it, or two human beings inside of it. But because of its load bearing capabilities, there is a lot of stuff that the AH-1G Cobra is better suited to. The thing with Ted Kazinski, he said the same thing as a lot of tyrants in history too. Same mentality as well. With this military technology was built with the same intent and purpose as Ted Kaczynski's bombs. These things aren't made for hunting deer. A lot of it comes down to it could be used for something else, but what was it designed for? What was it made for? What was its specific intent and purpose? Now, if you were to take some of this, you see all these plastic bottles, right? All over the place. A lot of the problem that we got is we keep melting it down and melting it down and remelting it down, or we make it into something that we're going to throw away immediately. If you're going to melt it down, just melt it down once, melt it down into something useful. You can make all sorts of stuff out of plastic. The bottom of the AH-1G Cobra, the way that it's formed, you could definitely make a bunch of emergency vehicles out of that plastic and stack them on top of each other and still have clearance between the AH-1G Cobra and the ground. You could use something like that for air-sea rescue. You could use something like that where, you have a pilot and then you've got the gunner's seat in the front. Instead of it being a gunner's seat, it's got that little turret that's in there that when it's in the military, it's got a little electric powered Gatling gun, or a big electric powered Gatling gun. Or it's got, if you're using it for the forestry service, which is what some of them have been used for. Basically, the deal is that you buy the helicopter for $1 and you have to pay for the maintenance of it for a certain amount of years. But they go up there and they find these hot spots with it, and instead of a gun on it, it's a camera, well, a series of cameras. But then let's imagine that something like that can be used to instead drop a crane, drop a hook from the nose, kind of like they do out at sea. You can have a port at the bottom, and then instead of having a gunner there, you can have an EMT, a first responder. You can strap their stuff to the thing. I mean, you can still use it as, well, the helicopter that it was designed after. The AH-1G Cobra was based on an ambulance helicopter, the UH-1, Utility Helicopter 1. It was also known as the Huey. If you guys watch the Vietnam movies where you see the big fat wide ones, and there's the door gunner with the, that's a UH-1 Huey in most cases. Like when we look at the Vietnam War, we when we make the movies about it, we don't tend to put in helicopters like the LOH OH-6. The Cayuse, if we hear about it, it's either from somebody who is in Vietnam or we're totally into history like I am. But then there's the fact that depending on what label you have, your interests are acceptable or unacceptable to the general public. If you're considered mentally ill, people are thinking of Ted Kaczynski. They're thinking of Jeffrey Dahmer. They're thinking of Jack the Ripper or the possibility thereof. See, when you say mentally ill, you're throwing a blanket out there. You're not saying exactly what this person actually has. They might just be depressed. They might just be depressed. Yes, depression is considered mentally ill. Now, you might have a good fucking reason to be depressed. Maybe you just lost 3 kids in a car accident. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to consider there. But then again, if you're depressed and people are looking for you, and it goes on the news that you're a mentally ill or mentally disturbed individual, well, now they're not thinking, all right, this person's depressed, they lost some kids, we should try to help find her or him. They're thinking, well, fuck, I better lock the doors and make sure that I got the shotgun within arm's reach because there might be a psycho in the neighborhood. So now you've got a bunch of the general public who are paranoid because of the term mentally ill. The woman's depressed, not mentally ill. People might be paranoid that she's going to do something like what Ted Kaczynski did, or or something like what Jeffrey Dahmer did. And some of y'all, a lot of y'all who are depressed, yeah, that's the thing is you guys are actually on that list of the most likely to be killed by police. You're more likely to get shot by the police, even if you're a white person. You are more likely to get shot by police than if you were black, by a lot. A lot of folks keep saying, well, this is a black issue, this is a black issue, and you want white people to help? Well, white people are going through it too, but it's only a black issue. No, you need to show them what it means to them, why it does make a difference to them, and why it should. If you're a white family and there's somebody in your family with depression, that person has more chance of getting shot by the police than that black kid that you're turning a blind eye to. Now, every time that you turn a blind eye to that black kid getting shot by the police, you are also increasing your chances of your child, your friend, your family member getting shot by police. Because by looking away, you are accepting it. You are saying loud and clear that it is acceptable enough for the cops to kill people that you're not going to do anything. But then when they come and shoot your little white kid because he's stimming, because he's autistic, or he's having a fucking meltdown because you took him to the mall and there's 10,000 people there and it's a whole bunch of lights and sounds, and you just want to punish them because they're being loud in most cases. I've seen the difference between the parents of autistic children who understand, and the ones who just, their child is a burden and they treat their child like a burden no matter what. Let's see. Elena typed good luck masshole. Elena typed someone once called 911 to check on me when I was suicidal, and two officers showed up, and one kept reaching for his taser when he was around me. They legit don't know how to handle mental illness. Well, that's also the fact that the term mental illness allows them that. It gives them, even if they know that you're not mentally ill, even if they know that specifically you have Tourette syndrome, like every fucking cop in Boulder did with me. That's the thing that a lot of people aren't getting. I knew all of these cops in Boulder. Most of them I didn't know by name, although I know a lot of homeless people who collect their cards. I'm one of them. I'm just not good with names. There's a lot of my stories that I told where people are like, man, that's not true. And I'm like, fuck, well, you're right. I said Mandy Singer when it was Mandy Hughes. But also, I was dealing with both Mandy Hughes and Mandy Singer, so it's understandable, especially under a high stress situation. Those of you who listened to the video yesterday, I played a whole bunch of stuff that was from other people, news stations mostly. I also played that part where that lady wanted to interview me when I was coming out of the jail. Why was I in jail? Because I was assaulted by Will and Lorelei for trying to help find Natalie's fucking killer. But they didn't want to put that part in there. They wanted to omit anything at all that didn't paint me as a fucking villain. That makes me a target for the public. And they made sure that they did that instead of a day in court. That's what people who are predators want to do. They want to make sure that if there is a court date, only they get to show up. They want to manipulate other people into doing their dirty work through lies and slander so that they can wipe their hands and say, I didn't do it. But the fact of the matter is that you did do it. You are responsible. You did start the lies that an innocent person is being harmed over. The unfortunate thing is that those lies also prevent me from having police officers do their goddamn jobs. Brandon Jepson, he's that former friend of mine who was going to school to be a police officer in Torrington, Wyoming, and he got kicked out for having a loaded firearm. Here's a guy who is training to become a cop, knows this is illegal, and that's what he's doing. Now, was the firearm loaded at the time that he got busted with it? No, he had it in his dorm room. He was not legally old enough to possess this firearm. And he's not allowed to have this firearm in his dorm room and he's got this firearm in his dorm room and he's cleaning it like an idiot. So now he's not allowed to be a cop. But he just assumes that all cops are right, despite the fact that a lot of the stuff that he was learning while I was up there visiting him, you know what he was learning? He'd come back and tell me about all these tricks that they're teaching him so that if they think that somebody's guilty, this is how you get around it. This is how you get away with it. One day he came in and was pretty fucking excited to tell me that he was learning how to take advantage of homeless people. When I was telling you, when I first said, hey, Brandon Jeffson, I got friends who are cops who know the names of the shit they've told me. I got a lot of folks that I know that used to be cops. They're good people, so they couldn't stomach being cops. Or they did the right thing when a bad cop did something bad and they tried to turn that bad cop in. Well, you're no longer a cop anymore. It's no longer about right or wrong. It's no longer about following the law. It's now about hoping that you can get your next paycheck and the realization that a position like this as a police officer, you need to follow through with it for a while. If you don't, then it's going to be something people are going to take badly on your personal and professional record. You weren't a cop for very long. You must have been dirty. People make up whatever excuse that they can, especially when you are made a target, like the news made me. It was, you listened to that yesterday. Like, yeah, Natalie's family are shit. These police are shit. We made it illegal, more illegal to do these things to black people than to the average American. We started doing this in the 1960s. That's what special rights are for. Now, every time that we have this issue, they introduce more special rights. They tell us, well, we're going to do this. I want you to look at the laws they passed 10 years ago, the laws they passed 10 years before that, the laws they passed 10 years before that. They're passing the same laws. They're not making it any more illegal. It's still illegal. It's been illegal. The issue here is enforcement. How do you force the police to not do that? How do you force the judges to not do that? Or the public pretenders? See, all the stuff that I am showing you, the actual evidence to, is the same stuff that I hear BLM complaining about. If BLM was showing my case and how it pertained to other cases, how other people ended up dead because I was treated mentally ill after being assaulted by these officers later killed people. When I'm telling y'all about the assaults in the jails, some of those jails, it was pretty much nonstop assault. That's not to say that they were assaulting me every single minute in there. It's to say that I was not a human being in there. When I was taken in that day that I was assaulted by Waylon Lolatai, a lot of officers took part in that. A lot of them. And no matter what you do, they have some excuse why your movement or lack thereof means that you're a bad person. And two of them are screaming at you at once. They're both telling you different orders, and they are manhandling you. The one who's telling you that you need to do this, and you're trying to do that. Well, the one who's telling you not to move is fucking slamming you. The one who's telling you not to move, you try not to move because you don't want to get fucking slammed. He says he's playing possum, he's playing possum. And then he's fucking, that's the other dude. He's playing possum. I do what I'm told by staying still, and I'm playing possum. If I move, they tell me to stop resisting. I'm not resisting. You're telling me to help you to get my pants off because you're putting me in a fucking Bam Bam suit like they were doing with that woman. When cops do wrong shit to you, they put you on suicide watch. If they can play that or prey on that, they sure as fuck do. And if you're a sarcastic asshole back, I am proud of you. You tell us about how we have freedom, about how these soldiers are fighting for our rights. All right, some bitch called We the People typed, Sean David, did you kill that 16-year-old girl? See, I've literally killed nobody, and I've got dumb bitches like this getting on here, and, well, being dumb bitches. What 16-year-old girl? Come on, We the People, I'm waiting. What 16-year-old girl? We're waiting. This person calls themselves We the People. A lot of these fucking nut jobs just want somebody to hurt. You know that fat guy in your neighborhood who's always dressing in military fatigues? He's never served in the military. He's got the IQ of like 90, 95, but he wants to impress you. He runs around all the time saying he'd do this and he'd do that. He'd take out these people and he'd take out those people. They like to pick up tags like We the People. Not just We the People. Some of them, like, they get into the Punisher. Like, they can't separate fantasy from reality. They watched a lot of fucking TV and they can't separate fantasy from reality at all. So they march around like if they wear this military stuff, that it means that they're a soldier and they have the right to do this and they have the right to do that. And all of a sudden, people are going to listen to them because they got a uniform on. They're not, dude. They don't give a shit. They see you and they're like, yeah, that dude is probably going to be the next unibomber. They see you and they go, man, see, people like that are the reason that we have gun control laws. I get it. I do. I got all sorts of military shit. I got 400 sights for an M1 Garand, but they're not for the M1 Garand. They're for the grenade launcher. Do I have the grenade launchers? No. Do I want the grenade launchers? No. Having the sights is pretty cool. A lot of people wanted to call for violence against me. No judge, no jury, just the execution. And they kept pushing that and pushing that and pushing that. And it was fine. It's fine. You say these people are harmless. These people are harmless. They're not harmless. Like, let's take a look at Natalie, for example. People look at her, they see sugar and spice and everything nice. But then you realize that what you assumed from looking at her was not the truth. But then you don't want to believe that. You want to justify the fact that you chose sides based on looks and that you decided to act like you were Ted Kaczynski or one of these mentally ill people that you pretend exist. Mentally ill people don't exist. They don't. Depressed people exist. Absolutely. People with autism exist. Now, autism is not considered a mental illness, but if you tell a police officer that you're autistic, he automatically puts it in the mental illness category. So while you guys are pretending that I'm the Ted Kaczynski, you're being the Ted Kaczynskis. While Ted Bollinger had sex with his own daughters, actually does meth, and got busted with a loaded firearm and meth at the same time, has put his daughter Alicia in repeat jeopardy since his daughter was killed. All right, Alicia is Natalie's twin sister. Alicia has disappeared on 3 separate occasions since Natalie died. All 3 occasions, people got a hold of me to ask me where she was, and people got a hold of me to threaten my life. You just want someone to hate, and it's gross. Me, I'm angry. You're goddamn right. But I am angry about the right shit. Those of you who want to pretend that nobody should ever get angry over anything, what the fuck is wrong with you? You get angry. Or are you on Valium? I mean, I can understand if you are taking so many drugs that you have no fucking clue what's going on. I get how you could think like that, but humans have emotions. You have emotions for a reason. If you are scared of somebody, there is a reason. Some cases, it's because you fucked that person over severely and you're afraid that they're like you. What would you do if somebody did that to you? You'd want to kill them. So women end up doing a lot of shit to people that if somebody did it to them, they'd want to kill that person. Is it all women? No, it's not. Are there men who do it? Yes. But what's the difference when I am talking about men and women in the United States versus while you guys are man and woman hating? I'm pointing out that we are teaching each other to be this way. This is what we are teaching our children here in the United States. It's what we are teaching them. I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm not trying to justify it. Now, on the few occasions where I am an asshole like that, there's a reason for it. If there's 10 of you first thing in the morning, man bashing and man hating and calling men pigs and saying they only want one thing, I'm going to say something because just yesterday, most of y'all, I got to see a bunch of posts about how you need some penis. I'm going to mention that when you call men pigs, I'm going to say something. Victoria, you were trying to get penis just yesterday. I saw the guy who you were flirting with, and I also saw the guy that you treated completely like shit. You were literally trolling for penis, and when somebody that you didn't find attractive hit on you, you treated him like shit. You didn't have to treat him like shit. The good looking dude was straight up fucking gross about the way that he approached not you, but your vagina, and you're all for that. But this physically unattractive dude, you're going to be a fucking dick to. Don't be a dick to him. Instead of automatically being a jerk, and then here's what Victoria does when this happens. She pops it all over her fucking Facebook. What a big deal it is that somebody who was not physically attractive fucking said hello. When she's trolling for penis, yes, some of the dudes who are going to be superficial are also going to be the ugly ones. You pretend that ugly people should not have any sort of sexual attraction to anyone, or they're going to kill that person. Why do you have that way of thinking? And there's a lot of people who are like, Sean, why do you talk about ugly people? Why do you hate ugly people so much? Like, I'm not hating ugly people, just as I'm not hating fat people. I'm not sure if y'all knew this about me, but I wasn't always skinny. I also wasn't always bald. I also used to have teeth. Looks play a major part. When I had my teeth, I noticed that when I got my teeth taken out, because that pain was excruciating, the people did treat me different. I was less of a person to them. I was less worth listening to, less worth talking to. But then you guys act like Ted Kaczynski and pretend I'm the Ted Kaczynski. Ted Bollinger, last year, going on a high-speed chase through multiple states with Alicia Bollinger, 18 grams of methamphetamine in their vehicle, threatening to throw children out of the vehicle. There were no children in the vehicle. He was just threatening it. He gets into an accident with his daughter. And she, although she should have been taken into custody by the police, she's pretty and she's a girl. So she got to a motel. She likely found somebody with some meth or possibly some heroin, and she left. And as a result, I had people threatening to fucking murder me. I also had Bobby Forrest getting a hold of me saying, hey man, she disappeared. I know you got a YouTube channel, fucking help find her. And you goddamn right I did. All 3 times that Alicia Bollinger disappeared, I tried to help find her. I tried to get the word out. If she's dead, then I can't face her in court. If she's dead, then she can't tell the truth. And I spend the rest of my life paying for it. A lot of people wanted to accuse me of stalking Natalie. If I had stalked Natalie, she'd still be alive. Should I take extreme steps to keep Alicia Bollinger alive? She may never tell the truth. But as long as she is alive, there is the chance. Of course, the moment she says, yeah, Sean didn't molest me or Natalie, a lot of cops, judges, and lawyers are in a lot of fucking trouble. What's the difference between me and Ted Kaczynski? Well, number one, Ted, Ted Kaczynski believed it was okay to kill people. And number two, he went after people at random. There was nothing random about my predators. I'm not trying to get random people in court. I'm trying to get my predators in court. Anyway, this person who goes by We the People is apparently a fucking idiot. What 16-year-old girl, dude? Bunch of fucking trolls.